Jessica, let me turn it over to you so we can get started.
Thank you so much, Martha. I'm passionate about this topic and I'm so happy there's a lot of interest. Um, so I'm going to go ahead and share some slides. We'll do like just a couple slides, then we'll get moving a little bit. So feel free to, be setting yourself up on a cushion or something comfortable to sit on for when we jump into some movement. I was asked to teach prenatal yoga right out of my first teacher training. It was the year 2000, and I knew nothing. I was just really excited by everything I had learned about yoga, right? So we have this goddess kind of tradition that was like all about like, Ma Kali is like the mother of all goddesses, and she's this sort of primal creative force, right? And I kind of related that to my pregnant students, and I thought, well, you guys are so powerful. And I'd tell them, you have everything within you, just enjoy it. And it didn't really land. Like they kind of looked at me like I was nuts. um, and I very quickly learned that pregnancy is very challenging, right? So it comes with like a new ache and pain almost every moment. Um, Lots of anxiety about very real, valid fears, and they're peeing all the time. They're not sleeping well. It feels like someone has, possessed their body. So I then decided, well, I'm also really into therapeutics, right? And I was getting my master's in kinesiology, and I knew a lot about, muscles and bones um, and rehabilitation exercise. So and then there's a lot of aches and pains, right? So when we're pregnant, we have these hormones running through us called progesterone and relaxin. And they're very useful in that the front of the pelvis has a joint and it can open up. And that's how baby's head comes out. So this is a very, very nice thing. Otherwise, it wouldn't fit. But unfortunately, these same hormones affect every joint in the body. So our wrists, our shoulders, our lower back, our knees, ankles, you name it, they are very vulnerable. And that's why we often find for our pregnant students, even something like being on hands and knees, some people will come out and say, oh, that kind of hurts my wrist, right? So I kind of focused on that. I would say who has wrist pain, and we would learn about how to stabilize the wrist with our shoulder blades. But even then, I kind of felt like I'm missing something. Like pregnancy is this natural process, and it can't just be a bunch of challenges and like do's and don'ts, mostly don'ts. And I thought there must be gifts with it, right? And so I started to look at my pregnant students. When they came in the beginning, they were really isolated, kind of nervous about everything, not feeling great. By the end, it really felt like they had stepped into, this Ma goddess self, right? That they were sort of ready, and you could feel their groundedness and this power. And I thought, what was it that made this change for them? Was it down dog? I mean, down dog is great, right? The poses are really transformative, but it seemed like it was more than that. Even the community, which is a really beautiful thing about prenatal yoga, where, we go through our experience together with other people, and it's just a really important part of it. Even that didn't seem like it. When I really kind of explored it, I realized that there is this moment in the very beginning that causes this transformation. And it's this moment where a pregnant person says, I'm going to slow down. I'm going to open to new possibilities. I'm going to learn to nurture myself, right? And I'm going to listen in and I'm going to honor what I hear. I'm going to step away from that more kind of achievement oriented, go, 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 kind of checking off your task list part of me, right? That more like masculine, not male or female or gender or anything, but just those qualities of stability and certainty and independence. I'm going to step away. I'm going to move more into what we consider more those feminine qualities, which are more allowing, listening, nurturing, right? And from there, we can then begin to access our power and wisdom. And that's what really I based my whole prenatal yoga school on, this idea, ma yoga, ma being, mother love, right? Learning to turn that love inward. And also ma Kali being the highest, most powerful and wise. And so we don't have to be pregnant to do this, right? Pregnant people often are encouraged to slow down and to step back and to take care of themselves. And they have this new motivation, of course, because baby's in there. But we can all do this. And that's what I love about these principles that I'm going to teach you. I'm going to teach you two main ones, and then we're going to apply them to some prenatal sequences and poses. You don't have to be pregnant. In fact, in some ways, we're all pregnant with something, right? If you think about it, maybe it's an idea, maybe it's a project you're thinking about doing, maybe it's just a new way of showing up in the world, right? These principles are still how we're going to support bringing into the world whatever it is that's wanting to be birthed through us, which is why after 25 years, I can still be enjoying teaching this subject because I learn from it every day. And I use these practices and principles in my own regular teaching and my own regular practice. So today, I want you to walk away with these two principles that hopefully will help you feel more confident if you have a pregnant mama in the room, even sharing yoga with a pregnant person. I love principles more than rules because rules, well, there are always exceptions to rules and principles are always true. But I also think rules can put us into that part of our brain, the do's and don'ts, where we're sort of like trying to remember how we can mess up or what, we should and shouldn't do. It's not a very creative, flowy, inspiring place to be teaching from. Whereas principles of nature, they're always true. And so we can count on them. And it's like almost like turning toward the positive, right? Instead of the negatives of how can I do this wrong? What can I give in this moment that will really support mom and baby? And principles can be a guide for off the mat, right? It's sort of something that works on a physical level, but also mental, energetic, spiritual. Like we just see that it's true on every level. And so principle one is make space for baby. This is our main principle. If there is one thing you want to ask yourself before you teach a pose to a pregnant person, it's does it make space for baby? And what does that mean? So the opportunity here as a prenatal teacher is to help your students make space for baby in body, in mind, in heart, right? So we have mind where it's like there's going to be a lot of changes, right? When we give adjustments for our pregnant student, it's not really because if they, twist across rather than open, that they're going to do some harm, right? Nature is powerful. Think of a waterfall. nature goes in the direction she wants to go in. And this is important for us to recognize because we don't want to perpetuate all the fear that exists in our culture around moving when we are pregnant. It was only in 2003 that the American College of Obstetrics and Gynecology said it's okay to exercise half an hour a day if you're pregnant and everything is within normal limits. So it's very recent, right, that we even stopped saying like, oh, you should rest, dear, right? At the same time, of course, we want to be safe. And this is a way, these adjustments, creating space for baby, are ways that we can make sure baby has plenty of space to move into optimal position and that mom has plenty of space for breath. But in terms of the mind and reminding our mamas that they have a yoga partner, just giving a little adjustment, like take your feet a little wider, make space for baby. Or in a lunge, bring your fingertips inside the front foot, make space for baby. It's this reminder that we're going to have to make space for baby in our social life, in our career, in our, natural rhythms. Everything's going to change, right? So I see this as a gift. Anytime we can offer a little adjustment, but not doing it out of fear, but doing it more out of just a reminder. We have a yoga partner now. We're going to have a life partner. So, and then the other thing we're making space for is for the mama's growth, right? So in terms of birth, people talk about every birth is two births. We're birthing our baby, and then we're birthing ourselves as mom to this baby. And even if you have other kids, you're going to be a completely different mom for this baby, right? I would say that there's even a third birth happening, and that is we are birthing ourselves as like our own like ma self, right? What does that mean? It's like our ability to give ourselves mother love, the ability to turn toward ourselves with some of that same encouragement and admiration that we would give a little one, right? A little toddler who's learning to walk. And we'd be like, and if they fall, what do we say? It's okay. It's all part of the process. You're going to be walking before you know it. And you're doing so great. And then think about your self-talk. Does it sound like that? Chances are it sounds very different. Something like, oh my God, there you go again. You don't know enough. You're never going to be doing this, right? Can we learn to turn a little bit of that loving admiration inward toward ourselves? This is part of space, right? This is part of what we're offering as prenatal yoga teachers. So let's feel this a little bit. We'll experience it in a meditation and then a couple basic prenatal warm-ups, and we'll talk about where we want space for baby and breath. So please take a comfortable seat. You can sit up on a blanket or a bolster, or if you're in a chair, that's fine too. The reason I have especially pregnant mamas sit up on something and kind of move all the way to the edge is the pelvis. If you think of it as like an oval bowl, it's like pouring liquid a little bit forward. So we want it at least to start tilting pretty far forward. As we relax, it'll come back, but the lower back will have its natural curve, and we can be more upright, making more space for breath and prana. And then go ahead and just place your hands on your knees and round your back by dropping your chin. And breathe into the back of your body. So this is number one place for baby, the back of the body. Can you feel the back ribs expanding back? As you inhale, the lower ribs widening and lifting like the handles of a pail. And then even the upper back rounding. And now on your inhale, sit up nice and tall. But see if you can keep a little bit of that space in the back of your body. And one way is if you bring your hands about mid-thigh, and if you want, you can keep your palms down. This helps make space in the back body. Once you feel like you have it, you can turn your palms up and we'll make space in the number 2 most important place, the top of the chest. If you want, you can go thumbs and index fingers touch. So what this does is it gently hugs our shoulder blades in and broadens this area. As baby grows, it starts to push on the lungs, and mom needs as much space as she can for breath. The back of the lungs, the top of the chest. All right, and if it feels comfortable for you, you can close your eyes and just settle into your practice. With every exhale, allow your hips to settle. Let's focus on the exhale for a moment. You can even whisper, ah, as you exhale. Picture again your pelvis like a heavy bowl, just sinking into warm sand. With every exhale, release into the embrace of the earth. When we're pushing forward through our day, when we're checking things off our task list, our groin muscles, deep where the inner thigh meets the pelvis, they tend to tighten and pull forward. So as we exhale, we're sending a message to the nervous system. All is good. And I would imagine we're sending that same message to baby, especially with that ha breath or ujjayi breath. If you like that, toning the back of the throat, breathing in and out through your nose. Once baby is at 20 weeks, baby can hear. So I would imagine this is a lovely, calming ocean wave sound. And this is actually the third way that we make space. When we exhale and settle the lower body, the inhale can move into the back body and up to the top chest and help us sit a little taller. Keeping that lift of the inner body, exhale, gently draw your low belly in and root down. So it's like we're pulling ourselves in 2 directions with our breath. Every exhale, settling back and down. Every inhale, expanding back and rising up. Make space for baby. And join your palms together. Let's do one grounding breath just to offer out our highest intentions to each other and imagining there are babies in the room. We can even om, but on Zoom, sometimes it breaks up. So I just do a grounding breath, but from inside, just offering to each other and whatever you have gestating within you. Deep breath in and exhale through the mouth. Releasing your hands and lift your head and open your eyes. All right, thank you. So please take your knees wide and feet together. And place your hands under your knees and just lift your knees up a little bit. So we're just deepening the groins, allowing our pelvis to lengthen. You can even spread your toes apart. So just waking up the muscles of your lower legs. And then finding your breath, just make some nice circles around with your torso. So imagine you have a baby in here, right? So as you go back, you can drop your chin, making space for baby in the back. As you go forward, inhaling, lifting through the chest, making space for baby and breath. And you can close your eyes and picture the bowl of your pelvis as if you're stirring it up, trying to get all the juicy stuff from all the edges of the bowl. And you might notice there are parts of you that feel a little tight, a little bit stuck. You can pause there. You can breathe there. Sending, of course, breath stays in the lungs and then moves out. But prana is breath plus consciousness, breath plus the intelligence, the power, the nurturing energy of our body can switch directions. So in the beginning of the prenatal practice, we're just sort of bringing that sense of connecting inward in a nurturing way into our movements using breath, just helping mama make space. Good. And then come around to center. I might do a couple more in a regular class, but coming around to hands and knees, let's move to our cat cow. So if you think about it, cat cow, when you do the cow, you're really collapsing the belly downward. And this is not great for pregnancy for two reasons. One is the abdominal muscle has a natural split right here with some fascia connecting it. When baby pushes forward, it tends to put pressure on it and it can start to open. If we do that a lot, then it can open so much that once we have baby, it stays pretty far apart. Sometimes people need surgery. A lot of times we can weave it back together. But it's called diastasis recti. And that's one reason why we don't want to just dump the belly down. We want to keep a little bit of a lift. The other reason is what we talked about, keeping space in the back body, because when we dump down, there's no space for baby. So I teach a different variation. I call it cat cradle. So first take your knees a little wider than your hips and tuck toes under. Good. Spread your fingers wide, allowing your hands to be fully connected to the support of the earth. And then on your inhale, we're going to do our cat, looking in toward baby, tucking chin, even tucking your tailbone under. On your exhale, I want you to just think about length. Press the tops of your thighs back. Let the heart soften down and forward toward the top of your mat, but keep a little bit of a lift of your lower belly, like right below your belly button. Again, not that we're going to do anything terrible if we collapse, but this is just a nice way to make lots of space for baby. So let's do two more. Inhale, rounding the back, tucking the chin. If you're not pregnant, you can always add lifting your belly button all the way to the back, right? And for the new moms, I would definitely say that. But for the pregnant moms, just a gentle hug, cradling baby into the back of the body. Even here, lengthening the tops of your thighs back, softening the heart down, lengthening even your neck, and keeping that cradling of the back of the body. Good. One last time. Inhale. And exhale. Shoulder blades hug, belly's lifting. Like that. And then let's come into child's pose. So knees wide, untuck your toes, big toes touch. And again, look in toward baby, say hi, right? Just that bowing in helps us make space in the back body. Keeping that spaciousness, rest your hips all the way back. If you need like a bolster but behind your knees, you can do that. So you can really rest hips back and down. And then try this variation, stack fists one on top of another under your forehead. I like this because instead of the head forward posture, it keeps the head back. It encourages space for baby in the back, and it allows us to settle the pelvis
back and down, sending that message to the nervous system. We're home. All is good. All right. As you're ready, come on up. And then let's move on to our second principle. Okay. So principle 2 is create a strong container. So whereas space is, that's an element, right? Spaciousness, it's like infinite, it's ever expanding. The energy of this one is earth. This one, the energy of earth, is this energy of containment and stability and strength. And so that's what we want to bring into our poses. We talked about this hormonal situation with our pregnant mamas where everything's loosey-goosey, right? And so sometimes you'll see the elbows are so straight, they're bending the other way. That's because there's none of this energy of containment, sometimes called muscular energy happening, where instead of locking the bones, we're actually hugging the muscles in. So we get this kind of safe boundaries, this strong container by hugging in toward the middle, right? Toward the center. You can think of our center as the steady, unchanging part of us and a wellspring of strength. You know, these stories of moms lifting up cars off of, little ones and stuff. It's like, where does that come from? Like in yoga, it's the mudra, it's the midline. And we hug into that. Literally, you can take your arms forward and then just disconnect the arms from their sockets. And this is taking the shoulder blades around and disconnecting and creating instability. But when you draw in, you're actually going to help your mamas relieve their wrist pain and connect deeper into their strength. So this is disconnect and this is connect. And we'll go through this in our practice, so not in a tiny little square. So on an energetic level, it's drawing energy into our center, hugging our legs toward each other, right? Engaging our muscles and hugging them in toward the bone. Physically, it's really about like sucking our limbs into the sockets and using our muscles, right? Engaging our muscles. Not every student you have will know what you mean if you say engage your muscles, right? So there are some cues that I'll use that you'll hear that will help people find stability. And I often use this as a metaphor for like how we're going to give birth. So no matter how much support we have around us, and support is incredibly important. We want people who are holding that space for us and breathing with us, and just, there for us to make the decisions that are right for us. Still, we're going to have to birth this baby, and it's going to come from our center. It's going to come from inside, right? So that's what we're sort of connecting to in these poses. So let's connect to that. Come to child's pose again. And this time we're going to do a different variation where we're up on fingertips. So knees wide, big toes together. And we're up like this. Good. On your inhale, lift your armpits and keep your arms straight and strong. Even hug your elbows, your inner elbows in toward each other. So your outer forearms, that's it. Strengthen. Nice. Back body is nice and full. Inhale, lift your armpits. Keeping that exhale, let your heart melt toward the earth. The head will follow, but it's not going to lead, right? The heart is going to lead. The back body stays full. And you can feel your shoulder blades, upside down triangles on the back, coming toward each other and down toward your hips. That's what stabilizes the whole arm, the shoulders, the elbow, the wrist. so that when it's time to go to be more weight bearing, people already have kind of experienced this drawing in. So let's try that. Inhale, come forward. Let's do half downward dog. So you're up on hands and knees, and then walk fingertips as far forward as you can. Same thing, one long diagonal from fingertips up the arms. Even look in toward baby, expanding the back body toward the sky, lifting your lower belly a little bit. On your inhale, lift your armpits, hug your shoulder blades toward each other, and then exhale, stretch back, tops of the thighs pressing back, heart softening down. Expand in all directions. So hopefully this feels good to you. You can stay right here or look forward and place palms flat. This is stage 2, right? Press your fingertips down, but keep lifting the armpits. Even like the heel of your hand ever so slightly lifts, like a piece of paper could fit under it. So you can really connect to the strength of your upper back instead of pushing down into your wrists. And keeping all that, you can stay here, or if you like, come on up to a full down dog. Feet are wider than your hips. Knees are bent. And just like you're drawing from fingertips up your arms, lift and spread your toes, draw from feet up your legs. Press the tops of your thighs back. You can go one leg straightens and then the other if that feels good. Taking your dog for a walk. You can come down and rest, but I am going to show you a nice prenatal vinyasa. Okay, so you've got them up here in down dog, feet together at the back of the mat. Squeeze your legs toward each other. That gives you strength, right? The mudja, the midline, hugging into it. Come forward, back body stays full, plank pose. So you can be here for like a breath or two, not a minute with the pregnant people, just a breath or two. And then knees down to the floor, cross your ankles. Bring your whole body forward so your chest goes past your hands, and we'll do some baby chaturangas. So bend your elbows about 45 degrees out, hug your hands and arms, and squeeze those shoulder blades. And then exhale, gently cradle baby toward the back as you come back up, right? So let's do a couple more. So chest goes past your hands, hugging in. Exhale, low belly comes back up. We're on our arms a lot during labor, so inhaling forward, squeezing hands and arms in, it really helps people connect to the strength that they're going to need a lot. Carrying baby, right? When baby's out. Exhale, this time come up, untuck your toes, and sit back on your heels. If this isn't comfortable, you can always sit normal, like cross-legged. But this is a nice way, instead of bringing people down into cobra, right, on their belly, where there would not be space for baby if we're lying on our belly. Here, you can basically do the same back bend action. Elbows are bent, heart is lift, upper arms hug. And then just breathe. Every exhale, back body spacious, hips settle. Every inhale, you can hug your shoulder blades, creating a strong container, lifting your heart, maybe following with your eyes if that feels okay. Deep breath in. And release. And you can just come back to child's pose or downward facing dog. I'm just going to show you what you can do if you're in class, right? You're teaching a regular class and you have a pregnant student in your class. I always encourage people to add in a prenatal class, even if they have a strong practice, because they'll start to learn adjustments, they'll make friends, and eventually that'll be all they can do. So they might as well already have it. But you will have people in your regular classes who are just fine, and there's nothing wrong with being in regular class. What you can do is you just come along and you just put a bolster under their down dog, right? So then when you bring them through a vinyasa, feet together, plank, chaturanga, Their thighs are on the bolster. I'm a little forward. So you want your thighs and hips on the bolster and then your belly hanging free. And the key here is long and low with the back bends. So instead of trying to come up and back, right? Because now I'm pushing the belly forward, I'm low, hugging legs together, hugging shoulder blades and pulling the heart forward, shoulders back, right? So can you see the difference? And it's not that you can't go deep as long as I'm still lengthening, 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 right? The moment I just kind of do this, letting the shoulders go, then I'm just kind of pushing energy forward. So that's just a little handy trick for your pregnant students in regular classes. And I'll teach you another one. Let's do a twist. So let's have a seat. You can sit on the edge of something if you like. Most of you have seen the do's and don'ts list, and that includes don't twist across, twist open. But what if you're in a regular class and you have a whole class plan full of twists, which happened to me early on? So here's what you do. You basically tell your pregnant student, when I say put the left foot forward, you put the right foot forward, right? So this is how it works. So let's say we're doing Marichasana 3. So I'm going to tell you guys, go ahead and put your bend your right knee and stretch your left foot, okay? And we, instead of going across where it's harder to make space for baby, we're going to twist open, okay? Your pregnant student is like this, right? Oh, sorry, that's not what we're doing. In a prenatal class, we're going to twist open, right? But in your regular one, we're twisting across. This is Marichasana 3. But your pregnant student is this, right? And so she's open, but she's not kind of going in an opposite direction and having all this attention on her. I'm going to lower my raised hand, which is raised for some reason. So let's do that. Go ahead and take your right foot forward and just feel the difference. Take a moment and make space. Exhale, back body full. And then I want you to spread your toes and fire up this leg, pressing it down, and even hug this leg in. So this kind of earthy hugging in stability is so important for twists, because remember, the pelvis is so unstable. And when we hug in, the inner thighs hug, the outer thighs hug, we're not going to be pulling on the pelvis. We're in fact making space for baby. So let's twist open, take your right arm up, elbow inside. Nice. Push your knee into your elbow and your elbow into your knee. And then place the other fingertips, your left fingertips behind you. Draw from the hands up the arms into the upper back strength. And then inhale, heart lifts. Exhale, back body expands as you twist. Every inhale is a chance to get longer, broadening the collarbones. Every exhale, back body spacious, making space for baby. One more deep breath. Exhale fully. And then inhale to come out. So the inhale is just naturally more effortful, and it's what we hug in with. If we exhale to come out, people just tend to relax, and sometimes we can get hurt in those transitions. So inhaling out keeps that strong container. All right, bending the knee, left arm inside, right fingertips behind. And let's just go through our 2 principles, which you can now do in every pose. Take a breath, soften, allow, right? All those kind of passive cues are these space cues. Back body, nice and full. And then hug in. Now we add the earth cues, hugging in, right? Press your knee into your arm into your knee. That gives you the strength, almost like you're squeezing a tube of toothpaste. You're getting taller, more space for baby and for prana, the intelligence and the power and the love that is within you, that's making this baby, that will help you birth this baby. And that is becoming you, the highest version of you, this Ma self. On your inhale, come on back. All right, and let's just go over some Shavasana options, okay? So after the second trimester, like end of second trimester, baby can be big enough that the vena cava, right, that returns blood to the heart, could potentially be getting impinged, and maybe your pregnant student won't feel lightheaded or anything until baby has already been feeling it, right? That's the risk. So optimal circulation is the chest is the heart, right, is higher than the pelvis. That's why bolsters are so important for prenatal classes. And if you have a client who's pregnant, highly recommend it. Although this is also a wonderful bolster. It's just the seat part of your couch. It has to be very firm, but you can do this as people get more and more pregnant. They may feel more comfortable with this lifted, even 2 blocks, and then like this. So this is a really nice way to give people their Shavasana. They can start knees wide, feet together. Just make sure there's something under each knee so that they're not overstretching their groins. And when they get up, it can be, the body can like tighten. So just allowing this, if you want to come into something like that, you can also come into a side lying. So this is another nice way. You have a pillow, and then you have something between the legs, preferably a bolster. You see how even this is, knees and feet are evenly hip width, right? And then you have your head on the pillow, and even something for this top arm. Now notice what's happening to this bottom arm. This can get very annoying for your pregnant mamas who are sleeping like this. And in fact, it can start to hurt, right? Because when the shoulder blade comes around the side, the arm bone comes out of its socket, it becomes unstable. We can get pain in the wrist, the elbow. So you can suggest arm behind like this. Some people like it. Some people are like, no, this hurts my boob. You can, see if they like that. I like it because it takes the shoulder blade on the back. It opens this area up. So those are just a couple that of Shavasanas that you can play with. And I'd like to finish our practice, not with Shavasana, but just with a forward bend, and show you how you can make a tower. So, in the beginning, first, second trimester, it's pretty small, right? So let's say we were doing, fire log, it could fit right in here. But after that, end of second trimester, it's starting to get in the way. So I gave away my other block, but if you have 2 blocks and a bolster, you can actually take legs wide, spread the toes, fire up your legs, right? And then just relax forward like this. So this is a really nice way that you can do just about any forward bend. You can even do Janu Shirsasana as a forward bend. Yeah. So, you can do Baddha Konasana, right? So this is just a nice way to give people a chance to relax and ground and settle before Shavasana, which I have switched around for you guys. All right. So I'm just going to pause for any questions or comments at all before we keep going. Are there poses you have questions about while we still have a couple moments to be practicing? What would be a fear of yours if you had a pregnant student in the room and you were just like, I'm not sure if I can do this or that? But, you can do standing poses at the wall. There's a section called beyond endurance, which is like labor prep, and just kind of getting beyond that point in your brain where your brain's like, I have to stop. And then you realize you don't have to. And I think this is a great teaching for your mamas to know that their bodies can do so much more than even our brains can imagine. And getting past that point will, I think, they say they remember it in labor. They're like, I heard your voice saying like we can go beyond that. How long should pregnant women be holding poses? So this is a great question. Because when we're pregnant, we have 1.5 times the amount of blood in our system. Our heart is working harder. This is why even early, before there's even the extra weight of the baby, your pregnant students might be out of breath just walking upstairs because their heart is just working harder. For this reason, arms overhead, even arms outstretched, it's harder for the heart. And so we don't want to have this happening for too long, right? It just increases blood pressure. So I recommend more of a flow. Let's say you're in warrior two, just inhale the arms out, stretch it up, bring it back down, right? And then flowing into side angle and back, reverse, right? Keeping it moving feels really good when you're pregnant. Dancing feels really good when you're pregnant. So trying to bring that into the poses is great rather than, the long holds where it's like, can we do it for another minute? That said, it's not a bad thing to do, to hold a pose for a long time. Like some of our labor prep poses, like it's Uttanasana against the wall, right? So our arms aren't up, but we are trying to hold it for that full minute, to really experience the length of a contraction and then what's going to help us get from the beginning to the end. So we can experience the difference between somebody like looking at the monitor in the hospital going like, okay, honey, you're in the beginning. Now it's going to get intense. I'm sorry to have put you into this position, like all that. And then another time we do it where we're just using the breath as if our baby is waiting on an island and we're just propelling ourselves toward it with every breath. So the fewer the breaths, the quicker we're going to get there. And like people really find the space where the breath is so long. Even the pauses in between are just like settling us into this calm, spacious, grounded place to be able to handle the intense sensations. And that's really what prenatal does for us. Prenatal yoga is, besides opening up the body and helping us connect to different parts of ourselves that we will use during labor, both energetic and physical, but it also, in a lot of ways, it just helps us learn to breathe through sensation, right? So that the alarm bells don't go off like, oh my God, this hurts. It's more like, this is a very intense opening, right? I'm going to use my breath and the tools that I learned in prenatal yoga. All right, so specific answer, how long should pregnant women be holding poses? 3 to 5 breaths is probably fine. Yeah, other questions? Loving these. I just want to speak for a moment about what makes a successful birth, okay? Because I think a lot of us who come from the yoga world and, we understand the beauty of nature and that we are an expression of nature and all that, we might come to birth with this idea that it's better to do it naturally. It's best to not have interventions, right? And I get that, and I have had that. But over the years, what I've seen is that you can have a beautiful birth anywhere. And we can't know as yoga teachers what's best for someone else. Maybe if we're their doula and we're meeting with them constantly, we can give them more advice. But honestly, we don't know. And I know for me, I was working in a hospital setting I created this group visit and prenatal yoga program, and I wanted to give birth there. They had midwives, and I didn't know why. I was like, I'm not going to give birth at home. It just didn't make sense. And I definitely had issues and ultimately had to have a cesarean, and it was not what I wanted. It was not what I planned. But looking back, I'm like, I'm really happy with my choices. And I honored what I was drawn to. Some people will feel much more safe in a hospital. Some people will feel like they walk in a hospital and they feel like a patient and they lose their power. And so they do not want to be in a hospital and they want to be in a birthing center at home, right? Our job, we call it educate and meditate, right? Encourage them to educate, to go out and take classes and learn from experts and do all that stuff. And then come back, turn in and see what's harmonizing in the most beautiful way and what's right for you. And then of course there's three more. There's the watery kind of fluid motion of the pelvis and the turning in that releases those deep groin muscles. There's the fire of power, right? Core power is okay for your pregnant mamas. We just have to learn how to do it safely. And then there's air, which is freedom, right? And this can be at the end of a pose, it's the stretch. It can be at the end of a pregnancy, it's putting baby out there, or it's just trusting the work that you've done and whatever it is that's been gestating within you, sharing it with the world. And I want you all to know that you know so much more than you think you do. And even if you only know one or two things more than your pregnant student, you can be a teacher to them. So that is the end of my workshop. I expected it to take a lot longer, and so I am going to actually throw in some bonuses. But first, someone had asked about the training, and I want to make sure I get to that. And so you know how you can continue if you like. My yoga prenatal certification program is an 85-hour live online and also on-demand program. So when you sign up, you get both. You get instant access to everything, plus the you're on the rosters for the lives, and I do them twice a year. They're each about 3 weeks, and it covers these 4 topics. The yoga of pregnancy, so this is your trip through the trimesters. The yoga of healing, this is healing the aches and pains that come up on the mat, but also postpartum healing, and even helping prevent postpartum issues. My Ayurveda self-care is Ayurveda, but it's kind of honed down for really busy people. So simple self-care, daily rhythms, food as medicine that we can all incorporate into our day, and then especially for pregnancy and postpartum. And then the yoga of birth, I don't actually teach that. It's taught by 2 doulas. It's actually a comprehensive birth prep class through a filter of yoga. So lots of pros and cons of all the different choices, but also the mantras and mudras and meditations and movements that help us during labor. So that's the whole program. There's also a mentorship where I hook you up one-on-one with a senior teacher, and she helps you integrate what you've learned and teach your first class, and then gives you feedback and you do it again. And there's also just mentoring throughout. So I get to know each person. I have office hours. You can come live when you can. And yeah, it's just fun to connect. And at the end, you can continue the mentorship relationship if you want and start teaching with us on our platform. Yoga Alliance requires 30 hours. So that helps you get the 30 hours, and the platform is a nonprofit. So it's just a karmic exchange of support for your teaching content, or even growing your business or whatever you're working on, in exchange for, showing up once a week for any moms or moms to be who want some yoga. And it's live and self-paced or both. And you get instant access. And then throughout your certification year, you have access. And yeah, that's the end of that. Other questions? Okay, where am I located? I am in Los Angeles. I'm from New Jersey originally, though. And I don't teach in person anymore. We did have a model before COVID where I would help a teacher find a location. And this is something I help people still with, but it's just not a my yoga thing. I'm just helping people. If you drive around your neighborhood and you notice a small business that maybe would benefit from having pregnant people come through their doors, could be a toddler music place or a place that offers birth classes or a boutique for breastfeeding or something. And let's say you look them up online and they do talks now and again. Like that way, you know, they have a room where they could offer a class and you could just hop in and say, hey, I'm interested in teaching prenatal. Would you like to do it here? So this is what we did before COVID. We had about 10 locations throughout Southern California, and I ran the whole community, and people booked and bought their classes on our website. And that was really amazing. We had over 18,000 people come through in those years. And so I had already been loving teaching trainings online, because when you meet in person, I mean, there's the obvious benefit of everything we get in person, but it's like an intense 3-day weekend. You get so much information. You wake up on Monday just going like, I have no idea what hit me. And, you know, you go about your life, right? When it's online, it comes in these 2-hour chunks. And so there's time to just incorporate it, digest it, bring it into your practice, bring it into your life. Then you come back for a little more. So I find that people are much more ready at the end of the online trainings. And I'm fine bringing them onto the platform and just having them start teaching at that point. I think there are different kinds of trainings. Some of them, you know, you'll just pay a few $100s and download some do's and don'ts and some videos. So, you know, my training is very different. And a lot of people take it as their first teacher training because you are learning these principles that are always true about the body. So it's a nice foundation. But even if you already have your teacher training, it just adds a lot of tools into your tool bag. You can always type in prenatalteachertraining.com and get there. On that page, by the way, if you fill out the form and say hi, you will land on a thank you page that has a link to a free training. It is a 5-video training, and it has 1 video for each of the principles, and you'll do more poses and be able to apply them to more things. So you're welcome to do that free one as well. So, but most people want to start with that. So people will register and just start watching the videos on their own. If you start early, it's like your certification year doesn't start until your day 1 of your first live training. So if you do feel like this is a path for you, you want to start as early as you can, because all that time is free time to just learn on your own. Let's say life got busy and you didn't do anything and the yoga pregnancy starts. That's fine. You still have a year. You can come. Let's say the yoga pregnancy starts. You're really enjoying dropping into the live sessions. They're Wednesdays and Saturdays, and something happens in your life and you can't do it right now. I do it again later. So you can just let me know and I'll put you in the roster for the next time, or you can do it on demand. So if you go to myyoga.com, you'll see the teacher training option at the top, or you can go prenatalteachertraining.com. It redirects you to the training page. All right, we have time, you guys. So would you like me just to go through the do's and don'ts? Would you like me to show you a couple other poses? Maybe let's talk about standing poses and using the wall. Okay, so we do not need to use the wall for standing poses. I've heard and seen in books and some trainings in prenatal, they're like, okay, well, if she's in the 3rd trimester, she needs a chair next to her. If she's in the 2nd trimester, she can be here. If she's in the 1st trimester, she can, you know, have a block. Okay. That is not my experience with prenatal yoga at all. My experience is if she's just starting out, she can be up here. After a while, she might find that she can go here or even here, right? it's not even just that she gets more open or she gets more strong, but she's learning these alignment principles that help her go deeper and help her find the support in her body that she needs and the space. And the alignment principles are not that complicated. It's the space that we talked about, it's the hugging in, and then there's a couple more for aligning the pelvis. That said, sometimes, especially as pregnancy continues, it gets pretty heavy and we get pretty unstable. In the third trimester, I've heard people say that the hips are so unstable that when you walk, you feel like your legs are just going to fly out of the socket, right? So we can teach people to hug in with their legs, even draw from the feet into their pelvis, right? Getting that energy of containment. But having a wall really can help. When you have support, you can draw in, you can kind of push into it and draw back in, right? So my outer heel is touching the wall here. And then I lean here for side angle, right? So we can be here. And I always like to give bow in, say hi to baby, back of the body, get spacious, our groin muscles deepen, right? The butt goes behind. And then rooting down from our hips through our heels. That's the core. And like this, maybe a couple breaths here. Exhaling, root. On your inhale, come on up, warrior two, right? So now I can press into the wall and soften that front thigh. I can reverse it, right? Heart open toward the sky. I can straighten, I can slide my hand down for a triangle, or take a block, bow in, say hi to baby, lots of space in the back body, and then root down and open it up. And then in between the poses, this is kind of a nice segue here, hands hip height, L pose. Feet are a little bit wider than the hips. And then let's go through our two principles, inhaling, back body spacious. Exhale, soften the heart. Heart is always further forward than the head, right? And then containment. So from the fingertips, drawing in, lifting and spreading the toes, legs are strong. And then we can stretch the thighs back, press down from your hips. So that's just a nice segue in between. And then you can come back the other way. And coming up, warrior two. I like to have them imagine whatever it is that's giving them anxiety far from the fingertips and just being in their power, just softening around it. And then reversing. And then, oh yeah, triangle, like this. And then placing hands and stepping back. And you can even keep playing with this, increasing, going toward more advanced poses. You can lift one leg up and see if they can turn the toes downward, right? So that's going to help keep the inner thigh lifted as well as the outer. Even bowing in here, finding space for a baby. And maybe the third time you come back, see if you can go into warrior three, right? So like that. Another way to use the wall is just be against the wall. So we have our triangle like this, and then just leaning back, moving into the back of the body, head back, ribs back. Even Ardha Chandrasana, right? This feels really good. And it's like it gives us a landmark, back of the body full, ribs toward the wall. So, balancing poses, I always have to do both sides because I have a scoliosis and I don't want to turn in circles all day. Balancing is not bad. It's great for the pregnant mamas. It can be harder, right? What's going to happen is this, right? So we want to push those thighs back, ribs back, root down. But people can really find that in balancing poses. So maybe tree pose at the wall, feet together, and then foot presses into the thigh into the foot. That's your stability. That's your hugging in, right? Thigh back, tailbone. You can even look down and then just really rooting down, like sending roots down into the earth. And people can really go deep when we take our time to align them, help them find the back body, that strength in the center. Sometimes we do arms around each other's waist, so that's a nice partner pose. They have to find their own center, right? Pressing in, rooting down, and then they can support each other. And this is a great teaching, I think, also for the support during labor. You know, like, again, you're going to have to find your own center. If you just lean on somebody in tree pose, you're both going to fall over. So, yeah, finding your center. All right, questions. So you know how in a regular class, when people are doing maybe partner poses and you have to ring the little bells to get them back. In a prenatal class, I let them go. I let them talk and talk and talk because that's part of prenatal. It's just making new mom friends. So you might hear someone say like, oh, I just feel this weird cramp in the morning. And then I would say like, is it when you're getting out of bed, after you get out of bed? And they say, yeah. So chances are what they're doing is they're getting up like this. And then this is pulling forward. So we just teach them, just roll to the side, come on up, and this round ligament stays toward the back. So I think standard do's and don'ts are don't twist across, twist open. But now that you understand the principle of space, you understand the why of that rule, right? If I am here and I am doing just a gentle twist, right? This is open, expanding the back body, opening the top chest, and then this is closed. Nothing changed, right? So now you've seen an exception to that rule, which you can make because you understand the why behind it all. We're just trying to make space for baby. Here's another example of a twist that I love to do. So when you do lunges, we want fingertips inside, and that makes, plenty of space for baby. So we can even walk the hands out a little bit, do some nice circles around. This is a great one it's actually a good labor pose, but it's a nice, early class, simple movement with breath, right? Hip opener kind of. But now if I place this hand here and I take my other hand here, bow in, say hi to baby, and then open it up, I'm twisting across, right? This would be open, but I'm now twisting across. There is plenty of space for baby. I can even lift the back leg. I can take the arm up and over. But it feels really good for the pregnant mamas. And now you have another example of an exception that we can make. Other do's and don'ts, breath. We don't want to hold the breath. Baby wants breath and prana. Something like breath of fire. This is like we're punching inward with the belly. Doesn't really make space for baby, so we're going to skip that one for the pregnant mamas. It's great for the new moms. Anything that we would have to do the Valsalva maneuver with, where we're lifting something heavy and go oof, and we hold our breath. I'm going to skip that. But other pranayamas are wonderful. So even 3-part breathing we can do breathing in, just pause, breathe in some more, expanding the back and sides, pause, breathing on up, right? So we're not holding the breath so long that we start to get red in the face. It's just a moment, right? And that's literally stretching the fascia and the muscles to be able to make plenty of space for breath, for prana. And then I would offer some do's. Do encourage your mamas to turn in lovingly, right? To use this time when they have this little being in there to learn how to do that for themselves long after baby's no longer in there. To listen, to honor what their body's asking for. Because if we think there's a lot of shoulds when we're pregnant, just wait till we're moms and everybody tells us how we should be doing it, right? But if we already understand how to listen to that inner wisdom, I call it the inner GPS, we have a tool that's going to really help us throughout our lives. And thinking about the thing that you're bringing into the world and making space for it and creating a strong container for it will give you inspiration, and you can trust what's moving through you, and offer out what's wanting to come through you. So thank you so much.